Hello there and welcome to TepTV. My name is Shegun and I'll be your guide on our show, the countdown to the 2023 general elections. We know that when there is something tangible to fight for, even the snake would bear fangs, and there has been a lot of contrasting opinions primarily for the personal benefits about the political landscape of Nigeria. Some have said things like we should give the youths a chance to rule, while others have emphasized the need for experienced hands. In truth, Nigeria has experienced both young heads of states and old presidents, some bearing children while in office, for example, remember Yakubu Gowon, and some also dying while in office, for example, one of our presidents in time memorial. And the fact is, it doesn't matter about whether it's experienced or inexperienced, it's more of a matter of who. So it doesn't matter wherever the political party is, it's more of who the person actually is and if the person is able to deliver on the biggest stage. Today we'll be focusing on the aspirants for the biggest prize, the office of the president, and we will be running a series. We'll be running a series based on all the different aspirants. We'll try and cover at least 10 aspirants who are vying for that big seat of the next president of Nigeria. We'll be looking at what are their background, we'll be looking at their political foundation base, we'll be looking at their biggest allies, we'll be looking at what they must do to win, we must be looking at their weaknesses, and of course, some popular opinion. So first and foremost, today we'll be starting with two candidates. We'll be looking at two candidates today. The first candidate is Orji Uzor Kalu. Orji Uzor Kalu, of course, we know is an aspirant from the APC. He was born on the 21st of April 1960, and you can say basically a few months before Nigeria became independent, or before Nigeria gained independence. He attended schools in Umuahia, that's the capital of Abia State, before going to university in Maiduguri. One thing to note about Uzor Kalu is the fact that he studied political science at the University of Maiduguri, and he was a student activist who basically led a particular protest, all must go riots, against the education minister at that time. And while other students were actually suspended because of that riot, and then also went ahead to sue the school to court, they took the school to court, Kalu basically just dropped out from school and began his own business. So basically, Kalu, after he dropped out from school, established a very big business, and at a very young age of 26, he was awarded the National Merit by President Babangida. From the many businesses that Kalu built, like the SLOK holding, we can see that there's a strong aura of a proper businessman in him. Somebody who had actually been elected, given different awards, both within Nigeria and outside Nigeria, simply because of his business prowess. Now, coming down politically, he made his first big mark when he became the governor of Abia State in 1999. That was when he became the governor for Abia State. In 1999, he ran the election for the second term, and he was able to get into office in 2003 and around 2007. But then things began to turn for the terrible, or for the worse, as you may say, when he was charged by the EFCC for embezzlement of state funds. He was charged by the EFCC for the embezzlement of course, which politician does not get mingled with embezzlement, you know? So basically, you could discover that if you look at the accusation of Orji Uzor Kalu in that 2007 for the embezzlement of the political funds, it's possible for you to say, yes, it was true, he actually embezzled the funds. But yes, it was true, it was also a very important political year. Just like the way we have 2023 next year, there's also a very important political year. What was important about that particular year is the fact that we had the incumbent President Obasanjo at that time, who had completed his 2 terms, and there needed to be a new person in the office. Judging by the fact that Uzor Kalu had actually been an activist while he was in school, a businessman, and all of the different things that he studied political science, of course dropped out from University of Maiduguri and all of the likes, you could almost see the fact that he had an ambition to become the president of the country. And also at that time, he was in the PDP, so we could see so many things adding together. For personal opinions, you could see us saying things like, he was actually charged by the EFCC on a political game propaganda in a way to just flush him out as a possible competitor to the person who ended up becoming the president at that time, Yar'Adua. So those are some of the speculations that we had basically around what happened, and then you can think carefully about it, look at it, and then you can think, okay, it was a threat to political aspirations of some persons, and in the political game, you always find a way to knock out your enemy before it begins to cause you problems in the future. So Buhari's regime finally came, and he was bailed out of his many years of battling with the EFCC. He battled with the EFCC for over 10 years, and finally, after around 2019-2020, he was finally bailed by President Buhari, who he now considers as a father. Of course, what do you think? Somebody who bailed you out of EFCC will definitely be regarded as a father. And that's why Obasanjo looks like one of his biggest or his worst enemy. basically. So, what is Kalu's political foundation? What is political foundation? We've talked about the fact that we needed to look at what his political foundation is that will propel him to possibly becoming the president come 2023. So what is his political foundation? Kalu has a stronghold in Abia State. Of course, after setting up a party called PPA in 2007, for the sake of him being able to run for the presidency, just like I explained, because of the fallout he had in PDP in 2007, and he still had the ambition of becoming the president, he was able to set up a party called PPA in order for him to be able to run for the presidency, of which he failed, of course, judging by the fact that EFCC took him up, and he had so many other distractions from EFCC until when he was finally built some years ago. He also has the support of some politicians here and there across the country. Of course, one thing you must note about Kalu is the fact that he's someone who is from the southeastern part of the country, and he has lived and toured around the northern east, northwest part of the country. So he has been able to make friends and allies here and there across the entire country, and this happens to be some of the strengths and the foundation for his political campaign. One of his biggest strengths anyway is the fact that it will be the Indigo people, where he actually stands vouching for the Indigo people, saying that it's high time we have a president from the southwest. And another thing, of course, which is the core part of his political foundation, is his wealth. There is no denying the fact that Kalu is a very rich man. Now, we go to what his presidential conviction is. What is his presidential conviction? As earlier stated, Kalu has all it takes to nurse an ambition to become the president. Not necessarily all it takes to become the president, but all it takes to nurse the ambition to become the president. Simply because, judging by his life of being an activist, studying political science, doing this, doing that, being an independent person, being a businessman, we could see all of the traits wanting that one day, he will be at the echelon top of the country. And then when we look at all of these things together, he has also come out on television to say that every civil servant must go to prison. I think he's just trying to lay an emphasis on the fact that he also went to prison simply because of the charges from EFCC on him. So he said every civil servant must go to prison so that they can have a new perspective to life. You can imagine. So that they can have new perspective to life and know that him going to prison had made him a better person. The question is he actually truly a better person now? Well, that is left for us to answer. You can answer in the comment section below. So basically look at his credibility, and he is currently serving as the chief whip of the Senate House of Assembly, which also makes him add more to his so-called credibility when it comes to the political landscape. Now, we've talked about so many things about Orji Uzor Kalu. One thing that we need to emphasize now is what then are his weaknesses? What then are his weaknesses? His primary problem is the fact that getting the ticket for his party looks very difficult. He's currently in the APC, and judging by the fact that we had many other big names, for example, the current vice president and one of the godfathers in the APC vying for the position of the presidency, he has a lot of problems in even first getting the tickets to represent his party come 2023. The second problem is the fact that he has made some enemies here and there. Of course, I've spoken about the place where he made enemies with Obasanjo and some other persons. Of course, he doesn't have a good tale to tell when it comes to the EFCC. But one bone of contention he tends to make is the fact that he feels that President Buhari has been a very good father and he looks like the liable candidate for Buhari. But the reality is that Buhari will always support anybody that comes out from the APC vying for the position of the presidency, and he will always be there to give them his blessings. So it's difficult to say that Orji Uzor Kalu is the chosen one by the current president, simply because we cannot ascertain, judging by the fact that a lot of persons have actually come out to state their intentions from the APC, including the current vice president. Now, if we put all of these things together, we also need to note the fact that he was a dropout from the University of Maiduguri, and his degree was also stripped from him from Abia State University after he left the office as the governor. So after he left the office as the governor around the year 2013-2014, the Abia State University degree that he got was stripped away from him. And when you put all of this together with the fact that he spent a long time with the EFCC, long wars from the EFCC from like 2007 to about 2019, you will discover that you tend to ask yourself a question that, is this somebody who is worthy to become the next president of the country? These are some of the things that you may need to put into consideration when we are considering the weaknesses and his credibility as the next president for Nigeria. Signing Orji Uzor Kalu. What must he do then to win? What can he do to win? What can he do to win? He has a lot to do actually for him to be able to win this presidential election. It's time for him to spend less time on TV shows, For example, several of the TV shows talking about the fact that all civil servants need to go to prison for them to become president. And then spend more time in making necessary friends. He needs to spend more time in making political friends so that he can reduce the number of frenemies and enemies that he has on the political landscape. He also needs to mend broken relationships, because if there is anything that is learnt about politics, is that you need others for you to survive. And finally, we're going to be rating the chances of him becoming the president, and we leave it at 8%. Mind you, it's something that can change tomorrow at any point in time. So that's all about Orji or Kalu. We're going to the second person that we're talking about, second and the final person we're talking about today, in the person of Nyesom Wike. Nyesom Wike. Mr. Wike was born on the 13th of December 1963. He's a lawyer and is the 6th governor of Rivers State. For some of us, we call him the president of Rivers State, especially because of the stronghold and the firm hand that he has in dictating the matters that happens in the state. All of this can be said simply because he is from the opposition party, the PDP. He was educated at the Rivers State University of Science and Technology. Wike also started his political career in 1999. So just like Orji or Kalu, Wike also started his political career in 1999. But he started as an executive chairman of his local government area. He served there for 2 terms also till 2007. But unlike Kalu, who had EFCC troubles from 2007, he got the opportunity to become a chief of staff for the new governor that stepped in terms of Rotimi Amaechi. And we're supposed to talk about the relationship between Rotimi Amaechi and Wike, especially the fact that Rotimi Amaechi played a big role in Wike's political landscape. One thing that we must note is that Wike and Amaechi had a very good relationship until when things turned sour in 2010. How did things turn sour? We discovered that Wike actually said in a particular video that things became sour when he saw the politics that was in play by Amaechi. If some persons actually felt that the reason why Wike and Amaechi actually began to have problems was simply when Amaechi nominated Wike as a minister instead of giving him the opportunity to become the next governor after him. But Wike, on the other hand, said in his video that things began to turn bad when he discovered that Amaechi actually already planned a successor train for himself and was ready to shun off Wike simply because he felt that Wike was becoming more popular than he was. He was the governor and Wike was his chief of staff, and he felt Wike was becoming more popular than him in the states, and that was the reason why he was finding second plans around Wike. He was somebody who he had brought in to help him to get the governorship ticket then, and then he was looking at ousting him out simply because he felt he was becoming more popular than him within the state. And that was when Wike needed to take the initiative and said enough is enough. He was no longer going to do things with Amaechi again, and then they both parted ways around that time. Looking back at the experience that Wike had gathered when he was the chairman of the local government, he was the chief of staff, at the time he was a minister, and then he was an acting minister also at another time, and then he became a governor. One thing to note is that Wike had built a strong empire in Rivers State, and that's the reason why we said at the beginning that he could be likened to as the president of Rivers State. So we could see that he had built a strong empire in Rivers State. This can also be further proved by the fear of Governor Amaechi at that time when he felt that, Wike was becoming more popular than he was in the state. Also, as politics will always go, every man must make a move first for his own private political interest. He got Wike when he needed to ascend the throne, and he took Wike out the moment he discovered that the throne was having some threats from somebody who was not him in terms of Wike. Now we'll come down to Wike's strength. What is Wike's strengths and who are his key supporters? Primarily, he's in the PDP, which means that he doesn't have the godfatherism problem like those who are in the APC. So currently the APC is facing the godfatherism problem. They are unable to come to a consensus about some certain things. So he doesn't face that problem because he's in the PDP, where they've actually faced their own godfatherism problem sometime in the past. And now everybody is on equal ground. There is nobody who is higher than who. Everybody is currently vying for the opportunity to become the next presidential candidate for the party. So another thing that we must note is that for Wike is not somebody who has a personal trait of being a loyal puppy. So being the fact that he's in the PDP, it means that he doesn't need to go through the process of looking for one godfather or the other necessarily for him to be able to get the ticket that he needs. And then, judging by the fact that he has a tight grip on Rivers State, he has able to establish himself as a force within the state to reckon with. And that's the reason why we can see that despite the fact that Amechi actually supported another governor against Wike in 2015, Wike finally won the election even though it was taken to court. So we can see that those are some of the strengths that Wike has, and he has also established some of the environments around the Rivers State. Now we look at his presidential conviction. What is his presidential conviction? Being a very active man, a man full of vigor and rigor, we can see that Wike has lamented about the fact that Nigeria is dying under Buhari. He feels that because of some of the slow decisions that Buhari has made in terms of tackling insecurity, he believes that Nigeria is dying under President Muhammadu Buhari. And for Wike, one of the major things is that's what he has laid the foundation and the principle of his political career or his presidential career, saying that he is going to tackle insecurity within the country. What are his weaknesses? What are his weaknesses? The most obvious weakness of Wike is that he's still largely unpopular in some parts of the country. Of course, many people know Wike, like I said, he has made himself a stronghold in Rivers State, where we can dub him as the president of Rivers State. But the reality is that he's still unpopular when it comes to some other parts of the country. Yes, they know him by his name, Wike, but they have not come to terms with ready to place a vote for him in the next year presidential elections. Of course, he's very popular within his party, the PDP, but it's a different ball game for PDP to pull him out as their presidential candidates come 2023. So those are some of the weaknesses that Wike has. Although recently he set up his campaign headquarters in Borno State for the sake of political gains and political strength. The reality is that even if he set up his headquarters in Abuja, it doesn't still guarantee the fact that those members of the Aso Rock, the members of Abuja, will still vote for him. So those are some of the obvious weaknesses that Wike has, and is still many years away from understanding the way things work in the country. If you asked me straight up, I would tell you that even Babatunde Raji Fashola has more experience, more understanding of the country at the moment than Wike. So putting all these things together, we can see that it is still going to be a very, very tall task for him to be able to achieve that ambition of becoming the president of the country come 2023. What must he do to win? The reality is that he must do a lot, and he needs a lot of luck for him to win. And judging by the fact that we have a lot of persons who are coming out at the moment to become the next president after President Muhammadu Buhari, I don't think he will have that much luck. First, he needs to get the PDP ticket, which is very difficult for him to get. And then next, he now needs to win the election. So if he miraculously even gets the PDP ticket, winning the election is another ball game entirely. So, but it's still a little too soon for him to be able to cover enough ground that he needs to cover. So within this 1 year, it's almost impossible for him to cover enough ground that he needs to cover for him to become the next president. So a practical suggestion will maybe becoming a minister again or a senator would give him better opportunities in the future for him to become the president. And we have rated his chances of becoming the president as 3%. Thank you very much for sticking with us throughout this video. If you're new around here, please kindly subscribe, and you can also give your comments about the different persons we have mentioned concerning those who are vying for the position of the president in year 2023. My name is Shegun, and I remain your host here on TepTV. You can follow us on Instagram at TepTV_productions and TepTV_sports, and you can also follow us on Facebook at TepTV Nigeria. Stick with us and follow up on this series as you get more updates around the political landscape in Nigeria. Bye for now.